Here we are again, Rich from PT Graduate. And today, a bit delayed. We were supposed to catch up last week, but that's okay. When, you know, it goes out when it goes out. Is Daina Kaha. Thank you so much for joining me today, Daina. For those people watching who don't know Daina, she's actually based in Bali, Indonesia. So, but that isn't where it all started, Daina, is it? So, be keen to hear a kind of, you know, your version of how you got to there, and because I know you're a Kiwi born and bred, moved to Australia, worked in Australia for a decent amount of time, and then transitioned over to Bali, and we've been on a similar learning journey together, and that's kind of how we originally met. And so we know each other reasonably well now. We've done a whole number of different things together on that educational path. And it's been really interesting to watch your journey and you know, what you do. And you know, we couldn't have been more different to each other than anybody, you know, when we first met, in terms of our personalities, in terms of our approach to life, the way we see things. And you really opened my mind up to seeing things differently. So, you know, you've had quite a positive influence on a lot of things. So I thank you for that. Anyway, I'll shut up now.
Thank you so much for having me here. And
no, you're welcome.
And thank you for sharing that last bit as well. Because I actually have a photo of us when we were going through one of the exercises, and it was the moment, actually, it was a coaching exercise around, I think it was either like sex hormones or something that Angela Jenkins was taking us through.
Yep.
And it was that moment that we realized, but oh my gosh, we are so different. Like the language that we were speaking to each other was just completely, you know, total black and white, you know, yin and yang. And it was just, And that was actually the moment too that I felt, that was when the appreciation came, when we realized, oh my gosh, we are so different. Okay, what did we actually have to learn from each other from that moment? It was, I have that photo. I'll actually share that with you.
Oh, you have to send it through. I think I remember that moment. Now you describe it, it rings a bell, and you know, the penny kind of dropped, and it's really familiar. And I thought, okay.
I love it. Great. For me, I am in Bali. I'm actually doing everything that I set out to do quite a few years ago when I was in Australia. And so I'm really happy with where I am. But where it all started was back in New Zealand when I joined the military. I joined the Royal New Zealand Navy and I joined it to become a physical training instructor. Right. So I wanted to actually be a PE teacher in school, but me and school didn't really go together very well. And so the military was actually perfect. So I wanted to be that physical training instructor, and had to be in for 5 years before I could actually change over to become that. So that took a lot. It took some faith to really just be in there and do the do until I could make that change, and then hopefully I was still fit enough and strong enough to become that trainer. So I did, and I will say that was the best training that I've ever received when it comes to physical training, how to work with a number of people. Like you either deal with one person or you deal with 100 people, you know, and anything in between. And also giving you the understanding of just how resilient human bodies are. That was a big lesson there, and I love that, and it's helped me even today in Bali. You know, everyone comes for these health retreats and everything, and I actually draw from that, the wisdom that I extract from my time in the military. I use that to help people really understand that their body is absolutely amazing, and it can do a lot more than what they, you know, feel it can. So I do definitely draw from that. But then from there I moved to Australia, and I started working with a chiropractor, and so I started understanding and seeing that as we get older, we kind of just give our health over to somebody else. And it's like, okay, for every week I will turn up to this person and they will do whatever they do, and then you walk away and go, okay, see you next week. But there was never any ownership. And so when I was working with him, we made sure that there was homework or there were exercises that they could be doing in between sessions with the chiropractor, and so on. So we started getting that deeper education going through, and then understanding how, yes, we move the body physically, but we actually also need to work with the body internally. And then as I was doing that, I was working with children as well at an outdoor recreation centre. So I'm throwing them out of trees, with their confidence activities and things. And that part taught me about how we as adults seem to lose one of the best tools we ever had, which was play. And so, as we get older, as in a lot older, we lose connection with the body. We just give it to somebody else. And then, from the child going into teenage, and then after that, we start adulting, we lose play. So I really, and children just strip you apart. So they really help you solidify exactly who you are and how you want to present yourself. And so I was going, okay, hang on, we've disconnected from our bodies, we're giving it over to someone else, and then we're missing out on play. So we just don't have that as an adult. And then from there I moved into the gyms, commercial gyms and small boutique gyms, and then commercial gyms, and that's when we just completely lose connection with the body, because we're all about the aesthetics and how we look and what I'm lifting, irrelevant, in regards to what we are losing. We might gain some muscle, or we might gain a PB, a number in our PB, but we lose health, or we lose vitality, and we lose time, we lose relationships, and so on. And then, as you know, my relationship changed. My life got swept from under me, and that kind of booted me over to Bali in a way. I was already, I went to a retreat for myself, and then from that I got asked to keep coming back to help with movement side of things. And then when life changed, I just went over there again, and I never went back. So I've been doing that, working on retreats, but now there's no retreats, but now we've pivoted and shifted and putting that all online now. So I'm starting to work with other practitioners, healers, and anyone that has a tribe that's working towards wellness and vitality and needing something around movement to help create that and build that space.
Brilliant.
So that's me in a long answer.
And that leads us beautifully onto the whole move, connect, play, which has become your business model to an extent, hasn't it? Is that fair to say?
Yeah, it has.
And I know that you had clients saying, because you were obviously delivering the stuff that you do with clients in a beautiful way, and they were saying, so what is it that you do and how is it that you do it? And they needed to kind of attach it to something. They needed some sort of reference point.
Yes.
And that was what kind of got you to think about that and say, good question. And your model and your logo and everything kind of brought those things together. Yes.
Yeah, you're right. And as I was sharing in my journey to getting to Bali, it was movement, connection, and play that really kind of stood out. And, when talking to clients, especially corporate clients, it is just, I say it's the MCP method. That's it. Oh, what's that?
MCP.
I said move, connect, play. So you bring connection to the body, you bring connection and awareness to the body through movement and through play. And it's really interesting how many adults that I've worked with have not played in such a long time. And when we brought play around, they would come to me bright, big-eyed, bright-eyed after the session going, oh my gosh, I can't believe that fitness can be fun. And I'm like, wow, you really haven't played much, have you? And like, oh, I can feel my glutes, and I can, I'm going to take this to my kids. I ended up at the retreat. There was a couple that was there, and they had their kids, but their kids were back in the hotel. They're old enough to be looked after just by a nanny, but still kind of left to their own devices. And the father comes up to me, goes, right, I'm bringing the kids tomorrow. It's great. Fabulous. Yeah. And then every day the kids just came, and they were able to move and exercise with their parents, but in a way that they could relate by having that little bit of fun. So
having fun.
It's wonderful.
Excuse me. And playing on that connect element a little bit more, it's not just about connecting as a group in sort of group activities and playing, is it? There's that other element of connecting back to ourselves, and really because you said, we like to sort of farm our health out to other people. We go and visit the expert who will fix this, and that creates that disconnection, or it makes it worse. But as a part of your business, that connect is empowering people or asking the right questions to get people to reflect more and think about what's going on in their bodies and why that might be going on. And there's a whole lot of stuff I don't even understand, which you do. And, when there are symptoms, you can talk to some of those and say, well, could it be that this might be happening? Or could it be that might be happening? Can you give me more on that whole side of that connecting back into ourselves?
Yeah, look, there's a couple of tools that I use. First tool I use for everyone. Okay, so the first one is pause and zoom out. That's the very first tool. Okay, because when stuff's happening, right, and we're either getting frustrated, or we come up with a dis-ease, or we come up with an injury, or there's a niggle in the body, and we kind of want to run around and do something about it. It's like, first of all, just pause and zoom out, and then take a bird's eye view of what's going on.
Right.
Okay. Then after that, we go, the second part is look to the body for clues. So as you've taken that bird's eye view, you're going to now look at the body. Okay. So from that, we can have a look at, where is it that I'm feeling the niggle? So is it in my neck, or in my head, or in my shoulder, hips, feet, knees, and so on? So we look at that. And let's say it's in the hip, right? So let's say it's my hips that I'm feeling the niggle. Then we go into self-inquiry and go, okay, so why is it that my hips are feeling that tenderness, or whatever it's feeling? So we go into self-inquiry, which is just a blast of questions that are giving you the bigger picture of what's actually going on with you. So something around hips, maybe, am I sitting down a lot more than I usually do? Yes, or yes, for most of us, right?
Yeah.
So then the next one would be, how am I sitting? So am I sitting, because I know that when I used to drive, this is actually not a good story to share, but I will share it, who's honest. When I used to drive, I would stick my left foot up by the gears.
Really?
Up on that little, and not that I had gears, I was always automatic.
Yeah.
So I didn't need my left foot, right? So I always sat it up there for whatever reason, but it felt comfortable. Okay. And I still find myself, when I sit down, my left foot, I just hitch it and put it on my seat.
Right.
So when I was going to my chiropractor to have the adjustment for my pelvis, for my hips, it wasn't until I started looking at, what's my habit? I would hitch my left foot up on things always. So I'm always sitting off with my pelvis. I'm never neutral. Yeah. I'm teaching it to be in a certain place that when I want it to be neutral, it's in pain. So so that's where you ask those questions. So, how am I sitting? And then you just keep asking those questions. And it could be pelvis. What does that really mean in the body? You can look at Louise Hay. She has a book of You Can Heal Your Body. Ina Segal, she has a book, which I can't remember what it's called at the moment. there's a lot of people that have the understanding of what emotions are attached into, you know, certain areas, which kind of show up in those areas. So I utilize their literature, but also my own questioning to see what's actually held in that pelvis. So pelvis being quite a stable, you know, that's the foundation, isn't it? You know, feet, pelvis are foundational areas in the body. If you think of foundation, then you think of home, you know, the hierarchy of values, home, money, support. So, you know, a lot of those things. Right. So then I go into, okay, where am I with money? Where am I in family or support? And, you know, anything that's really foundational to the human existence, right?
Sure.
So food, shelter, all of those things. So I go, am I feeling any stresses around that? Do I feel unstable around that? Or am I feeling supported or feeling rejected around any of that? So I ask those questions, and that's kind of how you get that connection in to the body by those things.
Sounds good. I guess you've got to have a client in front of you that's receptive, that, you know, they've got to be open to answering those sorts of questions, and may not necessarily have the answers straight away.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So that's where movement comes first. Because you're going to move them first. Everyone's receptive to movement. They're not receptive to connection. But once they move enough and things start to kind of uncover and you know, shimmy up to the surface, then we can start asking the connection pieces. And most of the time they'll come through and go, hey, this is what I'm kind of feeling right now. Okay, tell me about it. You know, what is it? What does that feel like to you? Give me what it looks like from your side of the room right now. And then that happens. So a lot of especially with the retreats, I know a lot of men get dragged along to the retreat with their wives. And they are fully blocked off, closed. And what I found is through the movement component that I would deliver, physicality for the masculine is a wonderful thing to actually break down any barriers that they put up. And that's what happened. So with the military background, I have an understanding of how to really talk to the masculine in such a way that they get that little pump up, but then they also, I can break them in a way, which I have had someone do. And, you know, and he broke massively. And I've had men break in the way that they hate me. They'll just have acid words to say. And at the end of those, I'll go, keep going. Tell me more, tell me more, tell me more. Absolutely. I get it. And then boom, it opens up of, okay, now you've shown me how, you know, that is actually me. I can see, you know, this is what I'm doing. And like they uncover it all. But it's from the movement. It wasn't from me. It was just from the movement, and then me being able to hold space and just go, keep telling me, tell me everything. You know, you're angry, great. What did I do? Tell me. You tell me to do this and blah, 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 but you can't, da, 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 da. And they'll go. And then all of a sudden they'll, you know, what's really coming through, you know, makes it out. As long as I don't go into fix it and going, oh, okay, I'm sorry. Like, it's like, okay, no, tell me more. I want to know. So, and then I've also had men come up, and we did play. We did this one, an evolution of movement. I took them right from infant stage. This is only a short exercise. And then we played through all the different years, all the different movements that they would have experienced in those years. And then got them to be playing tag, you know, or tiggy or something like that. And, you know, and whack with whackers and stuff. And that was when I had grown masculine men coming up like children and going, oh my gosh, that was the best thing ever. Where did you learn that? Blah, 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 blah. I said, I actually made it up. Like, this is from what I've been learning, you know, and what I feel for me, it's like, this is what I love. So I want to deliver that.
That's
so
brilliant.
It's,
so you know,
so connection.
You know that stuff, you know, that stuff works. You've kind of, based on the experience that you've had, you know what you need to get, and you've worked out a way to get it through those disciplines, through through that business model, but through the process that the people have to go through for themselves.
Yes.
What's the end game? Is there an end game in terms of those people kind of opening up and really being very open and honest and sort of breaking down, as you said? What does that mean for them? How has that come back to you in terms of what they've said that's meant for them in their lives?
For them, it's more of the connection to self.
Yeah.
And when they have that connection to self, they feel empowered. I don't empower them.
Right.
I think that's a term that's really bastardized, and I will empower you to do. No. They empower themselves because they go through what they go through. And as long as they just keep pushing on through whatever that looks like for them, and they commit to the process of them, you know, that in itself empowers them to go, okay, well, I am either stronger than what I thought I was, or I have so much worth and so much to give, or, oh my gosh, you know, it's actually okay to go into the child that's actually, you know, been knocking on the door for so many years. It's actually okay to, you know, tap into that a little bit. And then what I see, and I've had a lady, I trained her about 8 years ago. Yeah, it was around 8 years ago. And she messaged me actually the start of this year, it was the end of last year. And she said, whoa, you know, the lessons are turning around, you know, are coming through. And I'm so glad that, you know, you taught me da. So it's actually there's no end game.
Okay.
As long as you know to pause and zoom out and take a bird's eye view, you know, look to the body for clues and go into your own self-inquiry, you are your own detective. Sure. You know, health detective, fitness detective, whatever it is, in your own story. So all through the years, you continue doing that, you're always going to be lifting out of all the areas of stuckness that you're going to be in life or in body, and whatever comes through. So that's what I feel is the end game without it being the end.
Yeah, I guess we're always evolving, aren't we? So there is no end game until it's all over. As Maslow says, it's that self-actualization. That's the top of the pyramid, isn't it? So I can't imagine that we get to the top of that pyramid at a young age. It would take a bit of time.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. The extraction of the wisdom. You know, it's about the extraction of the wisdom from our experiences. That's really what it is. Understanding that every experience we have, we go back and have a look at it. We can extract the wisdom from that to give us the tools to then shift and lift through whatever it is that's keeping us stuck, or showing up in our body as a pain, or you know, a resistance or something like that. But
it's fascinating stuff. So I mean, obviously things are different for you with COVID, and you said you pivoted. What's without the retreat kind of rhythm that's usually going on in Bali, what's your routine like now in terms of, you said you're doing a lot of online stuff. Are those locals that are online, or are they international, or is it a combination of both?
Yeah, it's I love the retreats, and I'm actually loving online as well. I'm working with healers or practitioners who have programs that I can slip in, you know, quite comfortably and take their clients through the MCP methods, so movement, connection, and play. And so I've got a couple of people that I work with at the moment, and a couple in the pipeline that I'm doing programs with. So I like that. I'm a big supporter. I love supporting people, you know, like yourself. I love coming in and doing something like this, and because I feel like I'm a bridger. I bridge gaps. So people that are working on healing, let's say conditions, diseases, or dis-ease in the body, whatever that is, I can bridge the gap between kind of the spiritual side, and then the physical, now, you know, the actual physical meat and bones side, and bridge them so that they can actually work together, not just go spiritual or go full physical, but we can actually merge them together.
Yeah.
And the one thing that I've really loved, that I have a lady, she's a chef, and she wants to help people through food, and I'm coming in and giving them that connect.
Losing you now. Come on, Daina, come back to me. You there? Come on, Dee. Still there? Okay, apologies for the interruption in this service. We will resume in just a moment.
There we go. Okay.
So we should be okay. Let's try again. I think if I've got this right, we've just seamlessly carried on without anyone noticing.
Perfect.
You were bridging spiritual and physical.
Yeah, just bridging that gap.
Right.
Especially sitting here in Bali, we do see that we go so far out on one side, it might be spiritual, and then we go so far out on the other side, which is physical. The just hit hard, kind of the military style, no pain, no gain. Or we go into like full spiritual, where we almost disconnect. On both sides, we're disconnecting. So I just help bridge that gap with the movements, getting them to really connect in and ask those questions, so that let's get real, and we're having a real physical experience here on earth. Yes, there is that spiritual connection for sure. But lately what I am doing is I'm running 6-week programs, an immune boosting solution program with a autoimmune transformational mentor. He does a lot of the protocols and around working from a cellular level with regards to healing. And I work on the movement side of things and bridge the gap for us through lymphatics and movements and breathing to help with lymphatics and so on. So that's been really wonderful, and that's been the main program that I've been working on, and also working with a plant-based chef, and I think I may have said it earlier, but I'm helping her bridge the gap again. We go for food, and it's all about food, and food's going to help me lose weight, and food's this next and the other, and so I'm just helping bridge the gap there, where it's like, hey, let's actually look to the body for clues here for all the other things that need to happen, as much as learning about this wonderful food. So I'll be helping her out with her programs as well, and so that's really awesome. Where I'm sitting, and I'm loving doing that. I'm a educator in Heal Thyself Tribe too, where I do masterclasses and workshops in there. So anybody subscribes to Tribe, you can travel with me on monthly workshops, and then every other week I do masterclasses to lead into those workshops to help keep getting people to move, connect, and play.
Love it. Nice. So if people are interested, I mean, obviously they can find you at your website, which is dainakahu.com.
Yes.
DAINAKAHU.com.
Yes.
Some of that other stuff that you're doing, if people want onto that 6-week program, is that on your website, or is that somewhere else?
Yeah, it will be on the website. Look,
Cool.
By the time this is out, it'll be on the website.
And I guess they can make contact with you anyway via the website. So if they wanted to talk further, they could do that as well. Cool.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Awesome. Excellent. Brilliant. It's been great to chat, and I've really enjoyed getting some of the detail and the nuance on some of the stuff that you're doing. And really enjoyed our conversation. I think it's one that people really enjoy, because it just gives people a different perspective. It's not you've done the traditional stuff, but it's now very much non-traditional in terms of that career path that's sort of put out in front of you when you do your first original PT quals.
Yes.
I think the most exciting thing that comes up in that scenario is going on cruise ships, which isn't for everyone, but it could be for some. But shifting countries and working on retreats and just evolving your own brand and doing what you're doing is pretty exciting. So hopefully that inspires somebody out there, and they may pick your brains because they want to do the same thing. You never know.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm definitely open to connecting with anybody who is looking to even bring their business online, and maybe branch out even further than just the reps and sets and squats and deadlifts. So like there is a whole new world, and it's not until I think you have pivotal moments in your life that things kind of open up, and then standing on the shoulders of giants who have had those moments too can fast track you into something that you really fit in and love, right? So so I'm definitely I'm open and willing to connect with anybody that comes through your channels, Rich.
Cool.
And if they want to have a chat about getting online or anything like that, or even coming over to Bali when the borders open, of course. But just what's available, even in your hometown, really. What's available in New Zealand. There's some beautiful things that are happening in New Zealand. So and fitness, people in the fitness industry can definitely be a part of that, the growth that needs to happen, and is happening in New Zealand. So
brilliant. Yeah, you're right. Okay, awesome. Thank you again, and catch you soon. Bye for now.
Thank you, Rich. Bye.
Bye.